It's the Wilk Report. I am Michael Wilk coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio. With me again is Larry Bernard. First up on the agenda for tonight is the new Halloween film coming up in October. Jamie Lee Curtis says it's not that different making Halloween again 40 years later. This is on People.com. It's been 40 years since the original Halloween movie came out, but Jamie Lee Curtis says making the latest sequel actually felt weirdly similar. In People's exclusive sneak peek at the 59-year-old actress's upcoming interview with Dateline, Curtis, who is reprising her role as Laurie Strode in the latest Halloween film, opened up about the similarities between working on the two films, including the size of her paycheck. Weirdly enough, it's not that different, Curtis shared. Halloween in 1978 was a band of young guerrilla filmmakers, and it was fast and furious. The Scream Queen went on to add that although the film went on to spawn a massive franchise, that didn't mean working on the movie translated into a massive payday. There was no money. I got paid $8,000 for the movie Halloween, she remarked. And how much did Curtis make for the film's newest sequel? I got paid scale, she shared. $14,000 was what I paid. Curtis also opened up about inheriting the Scream Queen title from her mother Janet Leigh, who famously played the shower scene victim in the classic movie Psycho. It's been a wacky little curio of my life, the actress explained, adding that when she was growing up, she didn't even like those kinds of movies. So it's interesting to me that I followed my mom doing that, but it's a unique, weird little bond with her, she remarked. So, what are your thoughts, Larry?
Well, I think it's good that if they're rebooting the series or doing kind of a soft sequel reboot sort of thing, that they bring Jamie Lee Curtis back, because I don't think she ever really got full closure for her character in the series.
No, she didn't.
There wasn't really a good closing. So I think that's good while you still have her around. Unlike another series that we talk about sometimes too often, when you have a chance to give people closure on iconic characters, like, nope, he dies from overexerting himself. Nope, we fake her death, but now the actress died for real, so we can't actually have the pathos of her character dying in the movie.
Yeah.
Nope, we sacrificed the character he's been wanting to kill since the beginning.
Pretty much.
Nope, we're hiring Billy D. Williams to come back to kill him, too.
Oh, God.
Although I think at this point in time, they're probably not going to kill Billy D. Williams just because, that would be too obvious.
Yeah, it would be. Although, considering the pattern that we've seen lately, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried that. But moving on, we've got Matt Groening, or Groening, or however you pronounce it. A new Netflix series, Disenchantment, gets off to a rocky start.
So I pronounce it Groening after watching the first 4 episodes of that show. It's not good. It's not good at all. It's like Zombie Simpsons tier jokes put into a very lazy Game of Thrones setting.
Yeah, that's what makes me cringe. So this is according to avclub.com. It makes a certain amount of sense that Matt Groening's third TV series would be Disenchantment if the Simpsons tackles are heightened present through the eyes of a dysfunctional nuclear family, and Futurama is skewered an imagined future influenced by the whims of 20th century science fiction, then Disenchantment broadly examines the past via the medieval fantasy genre. Like Groening's previous shows, Disenchantment sports an impressive setting bounded only by the writer's imagination, in this case the kingdom of Dreamland and an ever-expanding cast of characters, 2 elements crucial for his brand of humanism and satire to flourish. Anyone weaned on Groening's work will find that his new series fits exactly in his wheelhouse, but with one obvious difference: it's streaming on Netflix instead of airing on television. Now, that's not necessarily a prohibitive factor, but Netflix's few creative restrictions and seemingly limitless budget constitute a double-edged sword for TV writers, especially those weaned on writing for network. Groening and showrunners Joss Weinstein and Bill Oakley are all veterans of the traditional half-hour sitcom, complete with commercial breaks and tight act structure, and they have done some of the medium's best work within those constraints. Will the platform's freedoms affect the quality of Disenchantment, or will it be business as usual, but with 10 episodes at once instead of weekly installments? Unfortunately, Disenchantment's pilot, Chapter 1, a princess, an elf, and a demon walk into a bar, falls into a familiar streaming trap. It plays like an extended first act rather than a discrete episode. Written by Groening and Weinstein, the plot inelegantly introduces the series' main characters without much regard for pacing or timing, taking its sweet time playing in the world of Dreamland, but rushing through the character relationships. It begins haphazardly and ends on a semi-literal cliffhanger, and while plenty of events occur in between, none of it carries much weight or significance. Worst of all, it's all around light on jokes. Chapter 1 scans as an introduction, ostensibly satisfied in the knowledge that audiences will forgive its flaws because they'll most likely just power through to the next episode right away. While that may be true, Disenchantment's first impression still isn't terribly strong. It should be noted that future episodes of Disenchantment are standalone installments and don't necessarily have this problem. So you know a little bit more about this, Larry.
It's not entirely true either. So it's a very lazy fantasy setting. Futurama was the classic 20th century science fiction, and making fun of all the ins and outs of it, complete with the actors from Star Trek's heads being in a head museum.
Yeah, and also Richard Nixon's head still being a... yeah.
And being the President of the United States, exactly. This is just very lazy. So the main character is a woman who drinks, carouses, and carries on while being the princess of the Kingdom of Dreamland. A kingdom that is rich on traditions, but not rich on riches. So her father is always scheming to get money or immortality or magical powers. The elf character is basically sort of taken from the Happy Tree Elf, like Smurf setting from the cartoon within the cartoon of The Simpsons, but they kind of fleshed out just enough to make it seem vaguely plausible for a fantasy setting, and he and the demon character play the angel and demon on her shoulder. Of course, they also do sociopathic mischief as well, but, you know, the elf wants her to do sociopathic mischief for good reasons, and the demon wants it for bad reasons.
Yeah, it sounds sounds like a good idea on paper, but you know, I am kind of concerned because, you know, The Simpsons probably should have ended at least 10, 15 years ago. Personally, I think it should have ended 20 years ago because it's been on the air for 30 years, give or take.
It should have ended after they came up with the idea of the principal and the pauper. Literally, everything's been going downhill since then.
Yeah, and what season was that?
Oh, God. Just a moment, I have to look that up because that's... But it's the universally accepted time that the show was bad. That was season 9.
All right,
so they should have capped it all off with season 9. All the way back in 1997. So 21 years ago. So The Simpsons has been in decline for 21 years.
Yeah, and even a big screen treatment couldn't save it either. Although, I mean, it was a nice attempt, but yeah, it just kind of doomed to failure, I think.
Okay. The movie was very okay. And they're talking about doing a live-action sequel, which also brings in live-action versions of the Family Guy characters. I really hope that's not what they're doing, because that sounds awful.
Yeah, if you've ever seen those pictures where Homer is reimagined as a human being, except he still looks like Homer, yeah, kind of disturbing.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a little bit of news on Box Office Mojo. It is showing figures from last weekend because we're still in the middle of this weekend, so no figures available then. But the Meg did pretty well last weekend. Their weekend gross for August 10th through 12th was $45 million and 402,000. Yeah, $45,402,195. Mission Impossible Fallout was number 2 with $19,352,090, experiencing a 45.2% drop. Disney's Christopher Robin.
I mean, realistically,
took in...
What is there to compete with the Meg right now?
Yeah.
Realistically.
Yeah, Christopher Robin took in almost $13 million. That was a 47.3% drop from previous weekend. Black Klansman is at number 5 with 10.8 million, which is not bad because the budget, the production budget anyway, was about 15 million. So if it makes its money back and also its production budget, it should do all right. Slender Man was number 4 with 11.4 million rounded up, and that was on a budget of $10 million. So it's already made its money back in its second weekend. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I gotta say, Spike Lee knows how to make a movie well and on a good budget. That's one of his many gifts as a director. He doesn't do things extravagantly. He knows what he wants to make, knows roughly where it needs to be at to make the studio happy, and he knows roughly what his audience is. And I plan to see that movie at some point here, not in the not too distant future, because I really love Adam Driver as an actor. He's a really enjoyable actor.
Yeah, he can be when he's given some material to work with. Unfortunately, he hasn't been given all that much to work with his last couple of movies, which is a really huge tragedy because, and actually, no, I was about to say he was in Swiss Army Man, but no, that was actually a different actor playing the lead.
He was in Logan Lucky, which was an excellent movie. Also had an excellent script, and he had a good part in it.
Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it for this weekend. There's a pretty slow news day. We actually did a live broadcast last night that is still in the middle of processing. So right now I'm uploading the recorded version, which is at about 11% right now as I speak. But so we're going to try and play around with some of the live streaming, work out some of the bugs, because working through OBS, it showed that it was recording. We did about an hour and 46 minutes, give or take, for the streaming. Like I said, it's still showing as processing, but the recorded video was almost 2 gigabytes, so yeah, it's possible that it might show up on the live stream, but we're going to work out the kinks and play around a little bit. So,
and we're working on getting good live stream guests
in
the future.
Yes.
Stay tuned for more news on that.
All right. So,
and we're also looking to upgrade the Patreon, so there's going to be more possible fun things. Maybe we might do reviews of stuff, especially stuff that's on Netflix, which would be really easy for us to review.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So you can pay for us to torture ourselves.
Pretty much, yeah. Oh God, I do not want to have to watch anything bad, but I will bite the bullet and do it if I have to.
Well, I mean, we might be willing to bite the bullet for something that's like super bad, like a Neil Breen movie. Something that's brilliantly bad.
Yeah. Brilliantly bad. Speaking of brilliantly bad, I am going to try and see if I can tackle The Room, followed by The Disaster Artist, because I am a glutton for punishment, and I've never actually seen that, and it's always playing at the local art house theater.
The Disaster Artist missed out on a lot of good opportunities. Like, there's a scene from The Room that when you watch it, you'll know the scene I'm talking about, where there's horrifically bad ADR dubbing. And when they made The Disaster Artist, they missed the perfect opportunity of doing that horrible dubbing.
Yeah, so I'm told. But hey, it could be worse. It could be Gymkata. If you've never seen that one, you're lucky.
Gymkata was, schlock. It wasn't bad because it was bad. It was just schlock.
Yeah. Well, it was supposed to be. But, when you've got a gymnast doing kung fu and combining that with gymnastics. Yeah, and you're filming in Romania.
Oh. There, 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 there is something glorious to mention. There is some other news. Billionaire Boys Club, the return vehicle for Kevin Spacey, is playing in theaters, 10 of them, and it's made $126.
Oh God. I've got to look this up. This is
Like the soccer movie. The soccer movie that FIFA financed did actually, I think, slightly better than that, but not much better.
yeah. Let's take a look at this.
So I saw it on Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up now. Box office: Kevin Spacey's Billionaire Boys Club earns abysmal $126 on opening day. This was posted at 11:04 this morning, Pacific Daylight Time. Disgraced actor Kevin Spacey is enduring a career low at the box office this weekend. The ensemble crime drama Billionaire Boys Club quietly opened Friday in 10 theaters scattered in select states across the United States. The indie film earned an abysmal $126 for the day following its release on premium video on demand last month, according to those with access to theater grosses. Put another way, that's a per location average of $12.60, which doesn't even equal 2 tickets if going by the current average ticket price of $9.27. For the full weekend, Billionaire Boys Club could have trouble hitting $1,000, by far the worst showing of a film starring Spacey. Titles that debut first on video on demand aren't generally big draws at the box office, but Billionaire Boys Club is faring particularly poorly. I can't imagine why.
I mean, I can't really blame everything on Spacey. I think it was a movie that was never going to make a whole bunch of money. But, yeah, $126.
Yeah, the fate of the film was left in serious question after Spacey was accused last fall of sexual assault by a number of men in the United States and England. Netflix and MRC fired him from House of Cards, while Ridley Scott replaced Spacey in All the Money in the World. Yeah, replaced him with... God, I'm having a brain fart right now. Christopher Plummer.
With Christopher Plummer. In fact, maybe they should have just replaced, him with Christopher Plummer on the Billionaire Boys Club. Maybe that would have been what would have been the key.
Yeah, because this actually also ties in with the STD, because Anthony Rapp was one of his accusers, and he was supposedly 14 at the time Spacey made a pass at him.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is particularly...
embarrassing, humiliating. I mean, the only reason I think they let the movie out of the can is, they could make a better tax write-off if it lost money in theaters versus just sitting it on the shelf.
Well...
And I think that's possibly
there's
why
a
they're
difference
doing
between
reshoots
losing
on
money...
X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between losing money and just being humiliated, and this pretty much crossed the line. There's another thing from Hollywood Reporter. Boots Riley slams Black Klansman as made-up story, softening realities of police brutality. Black Americans face actual physical attacks and terrorizing due to racism and racist doctrines, mostly from the police on a day-to-day basis, the Sorry to Bother You filmmaker wrote. Sorry to Bother You filmmaker Boots Riley is taking aim at Black Klansman as it enters its second weekend at the box office, and calling Spike Lee's latest film a made-up story that softens the reality of police brutality and police shootings of black Americans. In a 3-page essay attached to a tweet on Friday, Riley laid out his argument against the film. His thesis, written a quarter of the way into the story, posits that the movie is a made-up story in which the false parts of it try to make a cop the protagonist in the fight against racist oppression. It's being put while Black Lives Matter is a discussion, and this is not coincidental. There is a viewpoint behind it. Lee's movie, which released last weekend, is based on real-life policeman Ron Stallworth's 2014 memoir, Black Klansman. The film follows a Colorado Springs detective, played by John David Washington, as he infiltrates a local division of the Ku Klux Klan, first by speaking to members over the phone and subsequently by instructing a white colleague, Flip Zimmerman, played by Adam Driver, to act in his stead in in-person meetings with the Klan. So, your thoughts, Larry?
I mean, look, I understand what Boots Riley is trying to say, but number one, he's saying it in a dumb way. There are real realities of police brutality out there, but how about we focus on a dramatized movie, because all historical or quasi-historical movies are dramatizations, that talks about how a black man, through his, determination, grit, and intelligence, infiltrated and defeated, the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, which, and I think there's actually some value in that, too, because we do want to see people triumphing over evil and, give people hope that things can get better. I'm not sure I agree with Riley on this one because, because I had seen Sorry to Bother You at the Art House Cinema a few weeks ago, and, I liked it, for what it was. It had it kind of got a little bit silly towards the end, but I thought he had a pretty good message.
The third act was all over the place.
Yeah, and the ending I thought kind of wrapped it up on a low note, and I guess I can kind of understand why he ended it the way he did. But at the same time, if you're constantly, one of the central lessons of the film is that simply pointing out the problem isn't enough. We have to actually show people solutions that can work. And I think what Spike Lee was doing with Black Klansman is, showing that, yeah, there are instances where the system does work if we make it work. So I think he's kind of doing what Boots Riley was trying to say with Sorry to Bother You, which is you have to do more than simply point out the problem. You have to show people solutions, like ones that work.
Also, I think a cop who outsmarts the Klan is a more compelling use of the system to change the world for the better than, hey, let's form a union so our call center isn't that bad, or else horse mutants will, start rampaging over the place.
Yeah,
it's a stronger message.
Yeah, and I think they're both fairly strong messages, but yeah, I think you're right. I think Black Klansman actually does have the stronger message here, and one of the problems
Because
I've had
the
with
villain's
westerns,
clearer.
yeah, one of the problems I've had with the western genre is that it shows society and the system pretty much can't work. Same thing with the vigilante movies of the 70s and early 80s, where they show the system as being hopelessly corrupt and irredeemable, and the only way you can save the day is to go outside the system, which to an extent is true, but it's done in such a way that it kind of reinforces the status quo rather than actually changes anything. So I think, by Lee doing what he's done with Black Klansman, he's actually showing that, no, you can actually use the status quo to your advantage. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And it can happen if we, keep at it.
And that's a good way to end a movie and a podcast.
Yes. So this is Michael Wilk and Larry Bernard for the Wilk Report. If you like what you hear and want to hear more, hit the subscribe button and then the bell icon to receive notifications. And while you're at it, please visit us on our Patreon page and help support this podcast through funding. We are going to be working on a new reward system and getting in some new and interesting live stream guest members as soon as we get the bugs worked out. Or we can just do a recording, but yeah, so that's pretty much it. So this is Michael Wilk saying take care, good night. Larry, you can say the rest.
See you, everybody.
All right. Good night, everyone.